Hey guys, welcome to WeddingPros podcast. We are still in Vegas. Super excited to be here. How's Vegas been for you, Jared, so far?
Vegas has been good. We've been mostly in the hotel here, the suite, but have gotten some good food, got some good pizza. Haven't been able to make it out and do any shows or gambling yet, but I think that's the plan, right?
You know, it's like Vegas is this weird ecosystem that if you've never been to Vegas, it's wacky.
Yeah.
It
It was
is
infuriating. As soon as we got here last night, I was like, I'm tired, I'm angry, and I don't know where I'm going, so it was infuriating.
Because you took the Uber. You can't do Ubers in Vegas.
I know. I didn't know that, but yeah.
Anyway, we got a special guest today, George Bucur.
Hi.
So, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Amazing. I love Vegas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
You just came back from some film reviews, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Amazing film reviews. That's why one of the main reasons I love WPPI is
Awesome.
the film reviews, the judging. So much good feedback, so many amazing films.
So why don't you tell everybody about what you do and about your business and what you do?
Yes. So we are a photography and cinematography business out of Washington, D.C., Mari Harsan Studios. It's started by my wife about 8 years ago. I came on board kind of a year after from necessity of somebody doing videos for the company. Everybody was asking, do you know any videographer? And I had some video background, so kind of I fell right into it. So it was pretty good. And we're doing mostly weddings since then, and we're pretty happy with where we are right now.
What's so a couple kind of follow-up questions on
Yes.
that we try to ask videographers, because I think it's something that people are interested in, and we're trying to do more of it. But
Of course.
on average, you know, how much are you charging?
Mm-hmm.
How many weddings are you taking a year? And primarily, what kind of camera are you shooting on?
Yes, so we're doing around, I would say, 20 to 25 weddings per year. We try to keep it a low volume, high quality type of wedding, and we're doing anywhere from small weddings like $5,000, I would say, for an 8-hour wedding, to huge weddings, 6-day. You know, Indian weddings. We do a lot of big weddings.
So you were mentioning that to me several times, and you
Yes.
do a lot of Indian weddings. Like,
Yes.
that is such a fascinating part of the market to me, because it's literally a niche market.
Yes.
And you have to know a lot about it. Well, how would you say, like, how did you guys get into that niche?
I think we got there not by mistake, but by chance. So DC area, I think it's so multicultural, diverse, and Indian weddings, for example, is like a huge market in the DC area. So we got an inquiry like a long time ago. We were like right in the beginning, 5-6 years ago, and we were not as expensive. So one of the Indian culture, they always try to kind of find good deals. So
Yeah.
I think
Negotiation.
in negotiation, you know,
The whole
it's
hey, so I saw that it's a 10-hour wedding. Can I do 4 hours on Friday and 6 hours on Saturday?
not quite
Well, no,
that,
we
but
literally have
yeah.
had that happen.
I bet. I bet, but no. So we're like in the beginning, and I think there was like a lower budget wedding. The first one we got, I remember, it was like December. It was snowing in DC, and she's like, you know, we told her straight up, like, we'd never done an India wedding. She's like, don't worry about it. I'll guide you through. You know, I will send you like information, like what's going on, because you need to know a lot of things for those ethnic weddings, because they have so many things going on, like so many traditions.
Yeah, it's very
that
personal to them.
Exactly. So that's pretty much what happened. Like she like kind of guided us through the process, and she was like really nice about it, and we kind of started from there. Like we had first wedding, then we kind of fall in love. Actually, my wife, you know, we were married for 11 years this year. So she's like, she's like, we never had an actual big wedding, but she's like, you know, after we saw their wedding and you know, we got to go to more India weddings. Like if we're having a wedding, we have an India wedding, just because I like the whole thing, how it looks, and that's
The colors
They're
are
awesome, man.
that it's like so much to an India wedding, like to be honest, like right now when we do 8 hours, like traditional American weddings, like I really get bored. Like because we do so many, I think 80% I would say from our weddings are ethnic weddings or like some type of fusion wedding, you know, like
Yeah.
American Indian. We do a lot of Ethiopian, you know, and other cultures.
Those Ethiopian weddings are like a king is getting married.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same thing with Indians. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you do an Indian wedding, you know, I think somebody says an Indian wedding, and in a lot of people's head, they think about like, you know, Indian music. It's going to be like a very Indian feeling wedding. Do you find that that's the case a lot in the films that you try to make? Do you try to make it an Indian wedding film, or do you try to make it
the film he delivers?
Yeah, the film that you deliver. Do you try to make it more of your film with maybe like an Indian twist, so it is kind of a more fusion
Yeah,
feel,
that's
or
interesting.
Yeah, so there's a few, and that's a great question. So from the beginning of our business, we always try to stand out from everybody, and one way of standing out is trying to do things our way.
Yeah.
Obviously, keeping in mind the culture, keeping in mind all the things that go into an Indian wedding and their expectations, because we were just talking a little bit before this about music and music selection. So for them, Indian music is very important to be used in a film, you know. And every time we meet with a couple, with an Indian couple, that's like one of the first thing we put out there, that we do not use music that's not licensed. And Indian music you cannot license.
Yeah,
Because
it's hard.
It's hard to license, and 99% of the time you can't license, you know. So
And you never know. It could randomly be copyrighted. You never know.
yes, but we do not want to take that chance for our clients and for us. We always want to use licensed music.
By the
So-
way, if you're listening to this, I would say that's Wedding Filmmaker 101. Learn to get good at that conversation. No matter what wedding you're doing, if you're not telling people, I don't use wedding, just memorize it, recite it. We don't
Yes.
use music that's not licensed, and then stop using unlicensed music.
Yes, because that's so many issues can come out of it. And at the end of the day, you're making a disservice to your client because let's say for some reason the video gets flagged down,
They can't even share it with their friends and
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, or the account gets shut off, or
Yep.
worst case scenario, they get sued. But in the same time, you get used to being able to say no from the beginning, and that way becomes part of your business
And there's a
model.
good reason for it
Yes.
when you have the confidence. So you're dealing with people, it's very important to them, and you're letting them know you don't do, and they're like, oh, that's cool. How does
Yeah.
that conversation go?
Yeah, I mean, we always say, we love what we do. We want you to enjoy your film. And, we will not use stuff that's not licensed, because at the end of the day, we want you to be able to post it. We want you to be able to enjoy 100%.
Yeah.
And,
And you find they understand, and they're
yes, we do not use unlicensed music.
that's fascinating about, like, a cool thing about America. You're from Romania.
Yes.
And we probably, most of us, your wife is first generation, right? Like my wife is second generation, and like it's always about, like, really, I mean, I don't mean this in a derogatory way, becoming an American.
Yeah.
And it's like merging cultures together, and
Yep.
like this is part of how we do it.
Yep.
It's like oh, it's an Indian wedding, but it's also American. And,
Yes.
like, you're an American, but also you're
Yep.
an Indian American.
Yep.
It's tempting too, because you're like, yeah, I can't use a Coldplay song because that will get flagged in a heartbeat, or Justin Bieber
Yeah.
or whatever. But like some kind of like Indian music, I could probably get away from it, or get away with it for a little bit. But like, even like 2-3 years, who knows what the industry is going to be like? Like, there's going to be some way that they will be able to track you down, and like, yeah, you might be able to get away with
Yep.
it for a little bit for an Indian wedding specifically, but long term, it's not worth playing that game.
And to be honest, a lot of the time people don't even know this, but a lot of the labels, like indie music labels,
Yeah.
are owned by Sony, by
No kidding.
Universal.
Yeah.
So they are a lot of companies that you don't even know.
Yep.
You might say, yeah, it's an Indian song, but it is owned by Sony.
Yes.
And Sony,
Yep.
it is an American
Oh,
company.
and business is big business.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth taking your thing down, because
yeah.
out there, like, if it's important, India is not a small country.
No, no,
It's got
no.
a lot of people.
And it's an upgrowing, it's an upcoming economy, and,
Yeah.
and it's just a matter of time, I think, until everything will be very tight, in terms of like licensing and stuff like that.
I think
everywhere.
so too. And I think having your eye towards the future, having your eye towards
Yeah.
tomorrow is how you should run your business. So,
I have a question. Just,
Yes.
I don't mean to keep on harping on, you know, a very small kind of part of the wedding industry,
Yeah,
and
of course.
probably a smaller part of, you know, what you do. But I think it's a good question, because there's a lot of people out there that wonder and get asked this question. I get asked this question, and I honestly am like, I don't know. You know, when I've shot Indian weddings in the past, a lot of times it's 10 o'clock in the morning, right? It's the ceremony.
Yeah.
They have the lunch and kind of a big break in between. And people are always like, well, when do your hours start? Do they start at the beginning of the day and then you have your hours for the whole day? Or is it you start your day, you do first half of the day, you actually take a break where you don't charge, and then you finish off the day with, you know, your normal rate?
We literally get asked this question all the time. They
Yeah.
want your billing to be paused.
Yeah. And we understand that. And basically what happened, we built certain packages for Indian weddings and big weddings only, because we know anything that will be over 12 hours, it has some type of break in the middle. So even when we send our packages, let's say the Indian packages to our clients, you know, that's expected. Like we put continuous hours. So you're going to have us for, let's say, 16 continuous hour. That's like a typical Indian wedding day, 16 continuous hour. And that's expected to have a 2 to 3 hour break.
Well, you're going to have a
basically.
break, but you're not going to say to them like, oh, you're going to get a cost break because.
No.
And I think
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for them to understand.
I love the
Yes.
custom package, because
Yeah.
like our thing with Stop Go Love is like all our pricing is actually on our website. So it's like, no, you get what you see. We're not going to compromise on cost ever.
Yeah.
But it's like the Indian wedding doesn't really work within that. So it's
Yeah.
like they try to fit their day into like our packages, as opposed to just, nope, let's start from scratch. This is going to be a totally custom package because we don't normally do this. I might tell you, you might need a second or third shooter.
Yeah.
You know, I know more than you. You can't really pick and choose.
So you
there.
guys have basically preset
Yes.
options that go in, and that's really fascinating. And if you're listening to this and you've never done like really any ethnic weddings, like even like if you're doing like a wedding that's any kind of East Asian wedding, like from country to country to country and region to region to region, very different, right? And so obviously even within Indian weddings, very different depending
like-
on the region that you're in.
Yeah.
You got to come in with an open mind and a learning mindset and really respect their culture and try to figure it out. That doesn't mean every one of these weddings you're not like a bad person if you're like, I'm not able to do it. I'm not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot of custom stuff and a lot of really tricky stuff. So what kind of camera gear are you using? What are you shooting on these days?
So we started, again, we just had a conversation. I started on 5D Mark IIs, you know, back in the days. Then moved to 5D Mark IIIs, then 5D Mark IVs.
Are you terrified that they're going to take away all your L lenses with this 5R?
No, because I love Canon as a not necessarily. I'm not stuck to a brand. Let's put it that way. I love their colors. I love the way the Canon footage looks, and
you're just used to it.
I'm just used to it. Plus, I invest a lot of money into like lenses, cameras, and like the batteries and all that. So right now we're shooting on Blackmagic for 4K, the Pocket 4K, in combination with some Canons. We use the same.
How do you find that mix to be?
It's actually pretty good. Like I used some Sony before, I used some Panasonic before, and I feel that Blackmagic, at least the way we color and at least our workflow, I think integrated pretty well with our workflow.
I just did a wedding where we did 5D Mark IVs, and every time it would switch to that Mark IV, it was so noticeable to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did we do wrong?
I think it's obviously we're going from the Mark IV to you know, the Blackmagic 4K and the 6K. I mean, the dynamic range, immediately you see it. But I felt like the color was pretty.
It's pretty close.
Yeah, the color's close.
You look like
Are
skin
you doing
tones.
C-Log?
Yeah.
No, I have a custom I'm using Cinestyle Technicolor, but even that's customized for what we do, and I'm shooting like Cinestyle for the past 5 years.
So is your goal with the Canons to shoot the final grade in camera?
No, we heavily color in it. So I'm trying to, my goal is basically to all the cameras, including drones and whatever, to like I'm using some of the Osmo stuff for like certain things. my goal is to get them all to a close enough color, from where I can color it the way I want it, basically. So the closer I can get it as of a like log type of profile, because even logs, they're different type of logs.
Oh,
different,
totally.
yeah. So that's
Even
my
within
goal.
Blackmagic, like
Yeah.
because we have a 6K, a 4K, and an Ursa, and they look a
Yeah.
little different.
A little different, yeah. I've seen a comparison in between the 4 and the 6K. I'm pretty happy with the 4K. Like the way
I
footage
like the
looks,
4K a lot.
it's amazing, and the quality of the footage that comes out of camera. I was just talking to my wife, like I'm looking to my films now, and I'm looking to my films like a year ago or 2 years ago, and I'm just talking to myself like, man, I love that colors, that footage is like so crisp. So the skin and everything else like so smooth. So
It's hard to go back on.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know if I could go to another even Canon camera that's not like a.
I just did a grading workflow. So I just did the first ever wedding I've ever done, and it was a big wedding. It was a 4-day event, 20-minute film.
Yeah.
And I did the whole thing B-raw, and I was like, let's just do it. Let's just go in and do it. And it was so fascinating because there's so much more like editing photos again.
Yeah.
Because you're going, I'm going to change my ISO a little.
Mm-hmm.
You're not fakely raising it, and you're not getting that like wash of fake color you get.
Yeah.
And then you're also adjusting your white balance like a raw, so you're just going, I'm going to change my Kelvins and like it's not exactly the same as doing it in camera, but it was really close, and it was like the workflow is so different. So when I finally put the finishing LUT on, I almost did no exposure color adjustments on a node.
Yeah.
In B-raw. So we're getting into pure nerd mode, so we will move move on.
But let me just touch a little bit on this, because I want to say this. So even though the 4K and the 6K has all this capability, B-raw, like I'm actually shooting in ProRes and ProRes proxy, not even light or full ProRes. And the reason is I did some testing before. Like literally, when I bought the camera, before I took it to any wedding, I did a lot of testing with it. I'm like, okay, I need to see before I go screw up somebody's
By the way,
wedding.
if you're listening, ProRes proxy is like the lowest
you can get on the Blackmagic.
The Blackmagic.
Yeah.
It actually still is a relatively big file compared to other ones, but it's much lower than the raw format, which is basically like straight out of sensor. And it's also much lower than the highest quality ProRes format. So if you're not like a nerd like us, that's I'll translate.
Yeah, so you don't really have to shoot raw on Blackmagic to get amazing results, So that's what I figured out from my testing. And actually, everything pretty much, except like some corporate stuff, I'm not shooting B-raw because of the size and because of the workflow. Because I shoot and edit in Final Cut. Final Cut does not have a B-raw option yet. So
not yet.
So
Canon somehow, or not Canon.
Apple.
I know you don't care about us, but
please
if you could
license
somehow,
it.
Please give me.
Hey, they just released your Mac Pro. Come on, they should throw you a little bit of love this year.
You want me to use it?
Yeah, but you still can get amazing results. And to your point, with the color, like the balance, the white balance and stuff like that. I actually did a lot that I installed in the camera, because like you said, when you look at the camera, you see all these flat. You can't really distinguish, the white balance properly. So I actually had to train all my guys. We installed this LUT on all our cameras where we bump up the saturation and a little bit of contrast, just so we will bring it to, but we actually bump up the saturation like 200%.
Oh yeah.
So meaning, like, if that thing is orange, that means it's too hot. If that thing is blue, that means it's literally too cool. So that's how. And actually, since we installed that thing, like we nail, I would say 90% of the time white balance. Like, on the fly.
And here's what I'm hearing, and I hopefully, if you're running a wedding creative business, and this goes for photography and videography, you got to test.
Yes.
You gotta give yourself, and sometimes you do a live test, like you guys got lucky and got a low pressure, low dollar Indian wedding, and it lets you learn and test. If that was like a huge big deal, maybe you wouldn't have done it as well, because maybe you would have been a little uptight. But give yourself low pressure situations that you can fail and experiment with, and figure out a way to get what you want out of your gear, because it's your gear. You shouldn't be owned by the gear. You should be controlling the gear. And even having the courage to shoot proxy, like we were doing the wedding, that we do shoot B-raw because we just want to, but I'm like, we could do 12:1.
Yeah.
It basically looks the same to me. I tested it.
The footage, to be honest, like the size of the footage in between the proxy and the B-raw 12:1 is not huge. Like it is there, but the thing is, for me, the workflow just
if you're
doesn't
doing
make sense.
3-1, if you're doing like if you're gonna be broadcasting your films on like a 100-foot theater screen, you know,
or anything commercial, like I would not shoot proxy for commercial work.
But
it's definitely a
But you know, a wedding film, and it's not to say wedding films don't deserve to look great, but let's be reasonable about like you're not getting paid by the hour.
No, but it's still, I would say, still better quality than you can get from any Canon at the compression that it is right now. You know,
it's a beautiful compression.
I mean, it's you still can get that.
The 12:1, I actually am shocked how small it is, but how beautiful it is.
Yeah. So
it's a really nice codec. So. You're a speaker here at WPPI.
Yes.
That's awesome, dude. So
thank you.
What are you speaking about? Like did you choose the topic yourself?
Yes. So a few months ago, like 6 months ago, not just a few months ago, there was an opening to enter different topics for the speaking gig here at WPPI, and I entered 3 topics, and one of them fell through. And you know, I'm very happy and honored to be able to speak in front of a class of people.
Have you taught before at WPPI?
Never. Like this is my first time. Yes,
So
actually my second time being here at WPPI and first time speaking.
So you told me a little bit about what you're talking about, and it's really, really fascinating. So why don't you share just a little tidbit, because we don't want to give it all away, but share a little bit about what. And what I'd love to hear, too, is a little bit of how you're applying this in your own business.
Yes, definitely. So my class is called DIY Promo Videos and Social Media Clips for Photographers. And this, again, goes back to our business being a photography and cinematography business. And seeing the way that kind of the trend and the technology and everything goes kind of in a video, towards a video based or video environment, we saw a need for people to know how to use video, especially if you're a photographer. You already have most of the tools, you already have the camera, you already have tripods, stabilizers, all that. You already know imaging, so it's just not that hard to transition into a little bit of video that can make such a huge difference for your business, because we see this difference in our business. I mean, I post regularly stuff on Instagram, on YouTube, and we see the return from this, like the number of leads, like how it grows our business, and to be honest, like a lot of our business actually comes from this,
Yeah. So you're using, obviously you're posting wedding films, but you're also using video to promote photography.
Yes. We start using that. We still see a lot of return from the video background of the weddings, but we get people being like, we found that you done weddings here, we saw your video, but I want to hire you as a photographer. Because it's a way of so basically the way it works, like let's take YouTube for example. YouTube, it's a Google product. It's an amazing platform which a lot of people don't know that's extremely powerful. YouTube has got all this SEO stuff in the background. Like for example, let's say from a tutorial video or a wedding video where you have speeches, like you can do automatic subtitling, like closed captioning. That closed captioning can be used by Google for the SEO purposes, and all the key tags, locations, all these things that go into a YouTube
all the
video.
Things that everyone just skips when they're uploading.
Exactly. all the things that you actually have to put work into it every time and make sure they're there, because if you don't do it when you upload the video, you forget about them. All these things actually work for you, and you might not see results right away, but in time, like we saw the return from those things.
So that's a great topic, and Jared should go to your class.
I think they still have a few seats. I know it's almost sold out. So
I liked when you were talking a little bit about having a photo and video business.
Yes.
We do photo and video. I do about 12 weddings a year. It's all I can.
We
really
used to do more. We might do more again.
I'm maxed out because we're doing a lot.
Way too much video.
Yeah, way too much video. But something that I've seen.
You have a soft spot in our heart.
And I just love doing it. I just loved taking photos of people being in control, like on a different level than filmmaking. But what we saw is, even our marketing dollars, we were spending money on marketing for photography, and people would be like, oh, we are going to look for a videographer. We'll just go with you guys. And it's just like you make more out of your marketing dollars by, investing, maybe bringing a photographer on or whatever. I don't know. It's a good topic. I see a lot of photographers bringing on videographers, probably more than I see videographers bringing on photographers.
So how can a photographer use social media, use video with social media, to grow their business?
There's so many ways to do that. And it all depends what kind of photography business you have, and it all depends where you want to take your business. A lot of people can do educational stuff. Like you can do a lot of behind the scenes stuff that can teach other photographers, so you can bring that stream of income, or clients can see, how you work. For example, my wife started doing a lot of baby stuff, like baby pictures. For moms, a lot of the times it's good for them to see, the environment, and it's good for them to be able to feel comfortable.
It's much more personal.
Exactly,
much more
exactly. They see how you work. They see you as a person. That you're a person. You're not just somebody on a pedestal. And they see that you working hard for this kind of stuff.
Well, my observation has always been, video is much more brand driven.
Yeah.
But photography is much more personality driven. Like, there's a reason, one of the reasons why photographers get paid more, besides the fact that I think they just have a little more of an entrenched position in the booking order, and the demand is higher, is that it's driven by this personality, right? Mm-hmm. And like they're trained, from the beginning. Like once they start getting any training, it's really personality training. It's all about connecting with people and being a certain type of personality. And there's so many like industry leaders in the photography space that's their brand, right? Yep. You even look at like someone like Jasmine Star, right?
Yep.
Who, I don't know, does she even do photography anymore? But she's a personality.
Yes. And
the reason why she does well is because you see her talking to you, and like anyone, and I wouldn't just say, so if we do this with commercial work, it's all about like everyone wants to see video to generate trust, and I think photographers really should be thinking about their video, their own brand, and how to promote it in the same way. I think it makes a big difference. So you were mentioning something, just tell everyone. So if you don't know what TikTok is, he's going to tell you, but also tell everyone why they should be using TikTok, because we don't use TikTok.
Yes.
So convince me.
So TikTok, it's a interesting subject, because right now, first of all, it's the biggest growing social media platform in 2019, and almost reached half of the followers of Instagram. So Instagram, it's about 1 billion users. TikTok, it's already up to 500 million. And they grew so fast in the last 2 years, and part of it is because they don't have as many restrictions as Instagram and all that. So being a new platform, a lot of people can take advantage of that as soon as possible.
Before they build all the rules.
Before they start cracking down and changing algorithms, and it will be harder and harder. But one of the main things TikTok it's so great for everybody is because, like right now, for example, any business that want to use TikTok in the future, Instagram took 7 years to mature. Facebook took almost 14 years to mature to the social media platform that is right now, where people already start seeing return. So the demographic on TikTok right now, it's 16 to 24. Like 41% of TikTok users are somewhere in between 16 to 21 years old. So the 16 to 21 years old,
they're not just going to stop aging.
No, they're not gonna stop aging.
I like the long-term, just like brand
exactly.
build that you're doing.
So you wanna start now with TikTok. There is some opportunity right now, but you might not see it right now. Yeah. But in long term, I think it's a good thing to start getting into from now.
If you're right now for Instagram, like if you're getting into Instagram, it's totally pay to play.
Yes.
And I think by the way, you should. I'm in favor of paying.
Yeah.
And boosting things and running ads and being, a business.
TikTok is not there yet.
But TikTok's not there. It's not
there.
pay to play.
Yes.
You can show up, and if your content's good,
you
can actually reach people. You cannot reach people on Instagram, Facebook for free.
Yeah.
The thing
anymore.
that's
As a
interesting-
business. As a business. Yeah. No.
You
Tik-
really can't.
TikTok
If you
is
get lucky,
interesting.
maybe, but
Because
Yeah.
there's absolutely no photographers on TikTok.
Yes, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. TikTok, it's a video-driven
Mm-hmm.
platform. So same thing like YouTube, and that's why if you're not there, you're missing out
Yep.
on a huge opportunity.
Yep.
You know, a business opportunity. We're talking here because you, at the end of the day, we all try to make money, and we all try to be where the money are. You
well,
know?
it's all about. I always say like the internet is about buying real estate.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's real estate. You're staking your claim. Like, we had Binge Heish, very successful, and he became huge on Instagram in the olden days when Instagram would
Yeah.
let him become huge.
Yep.
He got in 1 year, I think he was saying he got 150,000 followers
Yep.
because he had the number one wedding shared. It was an adventure wedding, and then that he got featured by Instagram on something, and so he had all this viral build, and you can't go viral on Instagram.
No, not
like
anymore.
unless you're making a video of like someone falling down the stairs. Like
Yeah.
like people want to laugh on Instagram, and like that's pretty much it where they are now. You can pay and it works, and you should
Yeah.
do it, but you should get in early. You want to be that next Binge Heish. You want to be that
Exactly.
next person.
Exactly.
There's an opportunity there. That's fascinating.
Exactly. And compared to a lot of other social media platforms that failed, I think there is a future in this. I mean, looking at all the stats like downloads, app downloads, and traffic and all that, it's extremely like this social media platform does extremely well compared to everybody else. So there is a future in there. It's just a matter of how you can position yourself in there and how can you grow from there.
Yep.
That's how things are staying right now.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you in like as a professional, as an artist? Like, what are you trying to challenge yourself with now?
Well, I still love weddings. Like for some reason, a lot of people, they kind of get burned out in time. Like for me, for example, every wedding is so different, so unique. And my goal is to do less wedding, better paid weddings, and to be able to be able to pick a little more, to be able to travel a little more. We live in the DC area, which is pretty big market. We've shot to almost all the venues, so every time I go to a venue, I'm like, okay, what can I do different this time? What can I do? Not necessarily just so I have a different film, but even for me to challenge myself as an artist, because it's okay to shoot the same thing over and over. It's safe, you're making money, it's all great, but eventually you come to that point that, okay, now what? I cannot keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over.
We talk about that a lot on the podcast. Is like introducing challenge in your business.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's the number one thing I see with successful people is they're constantly looking for problems to fix.
Yes.
They're not sitting there and going like, whether it be like, I need a different way of shooting, a different way of editing. I think the problem you shouldn't always be fixing, and successful people don't fix this problem all the time, is I need more gear.
There's
Like-
never enough gear.
Yeah, no, and also like, that isn't the reason you suck.
Yeah.
The reason
yeah.
you suck
gear.
is because you're not challenging yourself in other ways.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but they always say, "Oh, I'm looking for new ways to do that," like introducing challenge
Yes.
into
Yeah.
their business.
Yeah.
It's-
And we're always looking at it. Okay, we did it this way. We have this opportunity now. Let's try it. I mean, you have to take risks. In if you want to stand out and if you want to be happy with what you're doing, eventually you'll need to risk. Eventually you'll need to make yourself
Adrenaline
challenge.
rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what we tell our guys all the time. Like, you're going to a new we shoot at one venue every year. We probably shoot 6 to 8 weddings a
Yeah.
year, same year. And so I always tell our guys, like, our lead shooters, hey, try to do something different, pull them into a different space, and just like
Yeah.
check things out. Our assistants is like, hey, when you're going to this wedding, this is your goal today: is make sure your audio is beautiful.
Yes.
I want you to really focus on that one specific thing, and like over time, you kind of have this repertoire of just growing more and more and more. And the hard thing for us who have been in the industry for a long time is we're like, okay,
You got there.
plateau,
Now what?
yeah,
Well,
we're
it could be. It could feel like you're looking for problems because you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I need this
Yep.
problem. I need a white whale to chase.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need a problem to solve. That humans are made to solve problems.
Yeah, and that's what keeps us going. I mean,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
do the same thing over and over, eventually you get burned out.
But the weddings, this is the key. weddings can seem the same.
Yeah,
You have to change.
exactly.
Yep.
You have to. You have to change your perspective. The
Yep.
wedding isn't
Yep.
going to change, but you can change.
I like what we talked about before the podcast, where we were talking about kind of like the state of the industry and like
Yeah.
what amazing wedding filmmakers are able to do right now. And I think we've gotten to this point as a group of artists where it's like, okay, now we all know how to shoot a wedding, right? We all
Yep.
know like not to peek
Yeah,
out.
standard
we know
practices.
standard
Yeah.
practices. Now it allows for that extra oomph of effort, and that's where really the artistry comes from. And,
Correct.
And I start seeing like the top people in our market charging the most money. I look at Alex, I look at Henry, I look at Ray, just
Yeah.
like Aaron, all the people that are at the top, and I look at all their films. I'm like, they're all different, and that's that
Yep.
almost like extra oomph that
Yep.
these people are
Yeah.
getting out of it.
Personalization
Yep.
that comes from mastery,
Yep.
and mastery comes from introducing challenges. So, we're gonna take a huge left turn, and we're gonna say,
All right.
and we always like to ask somebody something personal in the podcast, and just so we were like, let's talk about something that we love.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is your favorite thing right now? What are you into these days?
Well,
It can be anything.
I think we talked a little bit before this. I started DJing at 14. So for me, DJing was always like one of my favorite things to do, just because, one, I love music and I love DJing, but second, always relaxes me. So right now, that's one of my biggest problems. I cannot go and DJ because I have to be at a wedding on Saturday. So,
But like not like wedding DJing. Like
no, I'm talking like club DJing. It's a different type of vibe, different type of music. But it's what I always loved, and it's probably what I will always love. Like
how is
that's
that background influence your edits?
So yeah, that's a great question, and that's kind of how I even got into where I'm at today. Since I started DJing 14 years ago, after I moved to the States 20 years ago, I started DJing within the DC scene, and eventually video DJing caught up with the DC scene. So I had
So this is like when you're DJing, but you have a video. behind
yes.
you. Right.
So you actually DJing with music videos, basically. So this was like, I don't know, like 14, 15, 16 years ago, probably, I would say. So we got into this video DJing, and we did not have good videos to DJ with. I mean, you had just the MTV stuff, just the ordinary stuff, nothing, great music, but no videos for
It doesn't really work for a remix.
No, it doesn't work for a good remix. So I had to start editing those videos to fit the music, so I could DJ with them in the clubs, and that's how I pretty much got into editing.
How fascinating is that relationship between rhythm and visuals and then emotion? Like if you sync it together and you nail it, like people move.
Yes.
But it's the same with what we're doing with wedding films.
Yep.
If your videos, either they pop or they rest in the right way or they have the
Yep.
right dynamics, you're making people move they're dancing in their hearts. Right?
Yes, it's 100% correct, and I get this a lot. Like people, after the wedding, like we literally just got an email yesterday from a bride that we just delivered the film at the beginning of this week, and she's like, like I haven't cried this much in like my entire life. Those are the best emails to get. Like I love when I get emails like that, because that kind of validates what we're doing. That kind of, when you ask me, what I love about doing and why I love, this is why I love what I'm doing, because you get to see happiness, and to go a step forward, like this bride literally like wrote me an email like, I was sick for the past 2 months and I felt so bad in the day that I got the video, and your video kind of got me through that. It was like, you get chills, it's like something like that, it's what we live for as videographers, so I think having a good music background plays in my advantage, for that, because I know, how to, I kind of, it's like second nature to me, to feel the music going, like, let's say with the footage, with the day, and being there and seeing the day, how it went. Like if it's a happier wedding, if it's a more emotional wedding, like the music has a huge part.
You're always trying to make somebody dance.
Not necessarily. Some weddings, like I have couples hiring me just because I love like the moodiness of your films, or I love the emotions in your film. Like literally, I had people asking for that kind of stuff, and I have to tell them, let's see how your day goes. If your day, everybody jumps up, I cannot,
it's like playing an instrument.
Exactly. Let's see how your wedding goes. So yeah, I think that music background helped like tremendously.
We just did a reaction video for the first time, right? Where they filmed themselves watching that 20-minute film that Jay mentioned. It was the first time we'd ever done that, because it was like such a different film than we've ever done, and we're like, we really spent a lot of time listening to what their story was and creating this thing, and we did a lot of just customization. Like we had the grandfather read this poem. He wasn't able to make the wedding, so that meant a lot to them. And then there's other parts that goes really high and really low, as far as their emotion goes, and just seeing them, it's one thing when someone writes you an email and they're like, this is really great, I love the film, you guys hit all the right parts, love you guys, thank you. And it's another thing when you can just see it on their faces. Like that was like, that hit me harder than I think I've been hit with wedding filmmaking probably ever, really.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to ever have a couple send you one of those, it'll just,
it'll melt your heart.
I watched their reaction with my wife. Like they were just watching.
I don't know I don't understand how people get burnt out. Like I know it happens, but it's just like I can't see myself getting that way, because I really do have a keen awareness of, and if I say what I'm into these days, I'm into our couples. I'm into the people we get to serve, and we get to just make their, like, I feel like we are making people dance in their hearts,
Yep.
We're creating emotion and creating movement, right? We're making the world a better place. And like, for all I like business, I like money, I like gear, but at the end of the day, it's just tools to make people happy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's cool. You got to remember that, right?
Yep.
So
my favorite my favorite thing right now is another podcast. I might have done this already. Two Bears, One Cave.
No, you didn't.
Oh,
well, maybe you did, but talk about it again.
Two Bears of One Cave.
Definitely no one remembered.
No one, Two Bears in One Cave is Tom Segura.
Oh yeah.
And Bert Krishner.
Some guy.
And they're both really funny comedians, and they're really even more funny together. Probably two of my favorite comedians out there. And they just talk on the internet.
So
it's hilarious.
So
I love comedy though. Like, I think we're in like a really big like.
I'm too.
You know what's really interesting? My wife, English is her second language.
Mm-hmm.
She hates stand-up comedy.
I actually love it.
Yeah, do you? Okay, yeah.
In the beginning, I used to hate it because I didn't understand the jokes.
Yeah.
But now I kind of get it.
I think that's where
20
she
years.
is, where she's like, I just don't think they're very funny. Like, I understand it.
Isn't that weird about language? And like back to what we were talking about we'll bring it full circle. Is like, it's hard to communicate with words. Music and visuals cross all languages.
Yes.
And like
100%.
You can communicate something emotionally. We were watching all those films that were in various East Asian dialects.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way.
Exactly.
Like as if they were in English. It didn't. I could see people. I could experience it. And so this was a pretty like inspiring podcast. And hopefully, if you heard
I hope
you'd
so.
be
Thanks for
encouraged.
being on, man.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, thank you for having me. It was amazing. Yeah.
Good luck in your class tomorrow.
Yes,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
Thank
If this probably is not going to be live until after your class, so if you had an opportunity to go to George's class, let us know and tell us how awesome it was. Definitely reach out. Where can people find you on the internet?
Several ways. Instagram, George Bucur Films. Facebook, Mari Harsan Studios. Website, mariharsan.com.
Cool.
Yeah.
And of course,
YouTube.
Your wonderful wife.
Yeah, my wonderful wife Mari. She's a great photographer.
Yeah, definitely check it all out. Give him some love. Give him a follow. And man, if you want to hear more stuff from George, obviously go check him out and follow him. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the Wedding Pros podcast. Like, we are in Vegas, like I said, so make sure to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. We're in like 100 million podcast platforms.
Join the everywhere you find podcasts. But the Facebook group is really where people can ask questions. Hopefully, it's a good community. That's what we're trying to grow there. So if you're listening to this and you're not on the Wedding Pros podcast group, there's also a page, but the group. Make sure you're joining, because that's where a lot of discussions happen, and the magic happens, as they say.
Anyway, thank you for checking it out, and we will see you soon.